today. Joe Biden says if you make less than $400,000 a year, you're not going to pay a single penny in taxes. Congratulations to all of you. You don't have to pay taxes this year. Also, the White House is preparing to confront states on what they call anti-trans bills. We've got a lot coming up, and it starts right now. Hey, welcome to the News and Why It Matters. I am Sarah Gonzalez, today joined by two of my good friends, Elijah Schaffer, host of Slightly Offensive, that you can see on BlazeTV. Also subscribe on YouTube.
Did you? I wore my shirt. Did you ask me my pronouns?
I didn't ask you your pronouns.
I thought of them
I'm
already.
Sorry. What are your pronouns, Elijah?
Thanks for asking, Sarah. It's actually just two letters. It's F/U, and it's none of your it's none of your business. I identify as letters.
Yeah, give me a Sharpie. I want to write that.
Yakaboulians, of course.
Yes.
Host of the Yakaboulian show.
If you ask me for my pronouns, I may punch you. So. I'm a man. Can you not tell? Can you not tell?
You know what I
Call
love?
me man.
No, oh my gosh.
What's up, man?
Man. Hey, man. Yes, right.
Okay, so while we're on the subject of this, I do have to bring up, there was this viral video I saw you posted. I know you saw it. I don't know if you saw Yaku, this viral video that was going all around Twitter of this little girl who was talking to her mom. They were like at a playground, and her mom was like, "Oh, do you feel like a boy sometimes? Oh, well, you don't, what are you? Oh, you don't know what you are?" I mean, just total and complete child abuse. And every single person, when I retweeted it, every single person who said something negative to me, they all had pronouns in their bio.
Of course.
All of them. And I'm like, you are some 20-something in your mother's basement and you have pronouns in your bio. I don't think you need to tell me how to raise children. Just saying.
Mental illness. You know with the pronouns that there's a mental illness because it's also narcissism. Yeah. Because if you think that people actually like online that are virtual care about what you go by, then you have like self-importance issues. Yes. And you probably and likely you have trauma in your life because like I always say, if when you got in the shower and you looked down today, hopefully you did take a shower, and you didn't know your pronouns were just by looking down, then we have a problem.
We have a problem.
It's a mental illness.
Yeah.
There's a massive psychosis. It's true.
I know Elijah knows that firsthand just from being at all the protests and the Chaz and all the places you've been.
By the way, people identify as a tree now. That's like a real thing. It's an actually new pronoun to identify as a tree. Yeah, people are identifying as objects now. And one user said that's because, and I like that because they're just trying to branch out, so we should give them credit. Trees are positive impact, so at least we're going somewhere
the first
good.
image that came to me is just dogs go pee on trees. I wonder what they do when they stand and the dog just says, "You're a tree, right, let's go."
Just trying to branch out, dead end.
Sorry for hijacking your show, Sarah.
Yeah, so we're not here to talk about the news, no worries. So Joe Biden was, he says things sometimes that I'm not sure if he means to say. I'm not sure if he knows what day it is. I'm not sure if he knows who he is. You are Joe Biden, the president of the United States. He was speaking, when was this? Yesterday, and speaking on the economy and taxes. And he made a jaw-dropping statement that if you make less than $400,000 a year, you're not going to pay a single penny in taxes. Listen.
The reason I'm bothering to do this is I keep hearing on the press Biden's going to raise your taxes. Anybody making less than $400,000 a year will not pay a single penny in taxes.
Wow.
And we will not increase the deficit either, unlike the last gigantic tax cut, which increased the deficit by $2 trillion. It's about balancing the system.
Now I see why he is, in fact, America's most popular president of all time. Because he was going to reduce our taxes to zero. If I'd have known that, I would have voted for him. Jeez.
Practically 99% of the population are going to pay no taxes.
I'm going to vote for him. I'm going to say this. If that happens and you give me back 30% of my paycheck, I can start affording to invest in the programs that might actually turn the country around. I'm not even going to care about the presidency anymore because that meant 30%. It's like I think the average person is probably going to get 17 to 30% of their money back. I have to say, I hope this gaffe, because they say he's not losing it and that he just has a stutter. And that wasn't a stutter, so that must be true.
Well, no, because Snopes has already come out, and they give him the benefit of the doubt that they would never ever dare give President Trump.
So much room, so much leeway.
President Trump is saying something, you know what he means, and they're like, nope, he said that. That counts of one of his false claims. But Snopes says Biden clearly misspoke, you guys, when he said that people making less than $400,000 will not pay a single penny in taxes. He clearly misspoke.
What is it then? Is it 40 or is it 4?
Well, it's interesting.
Is it 40,000 or is it 4? I mean, what are we talking about?
It's interesting because they've already had to backtrack on this. You had Jen Psaki come out and say, well, I mean, yes, we said 400,000, but that was for families, not individuals. That was just for families.
Still 99%.
So it's 200,000 per person now all of a sudden. So we're getting all of this conflicting information. The sad part is it's still none of it is going to pay for any of all the programs that they have.
I mean, look, I just saw today that a town used $228,000 of COVID relief to install a squid statue by the bay. This is from the New York Post. When you talk about with taxes, I also understand. My brother came here and he said, "You guys, your roads are pretty messed up in Texas," and believe me, it's the drivers are messed up too. Yeah. But you can fix one of them with tax money, and the other one, I don't know. But he goes, "You don't want just a 1 or 3% state tax in order to fix the roads." And I said, if the government worked for the people, I wouldn't mind that.
Yeah.
Right.
But because I know that it'll be 3% this year, 10% in 10 years, and then we'll be up to California, which is nearly 100%. If you ask me, it really is that bad at this point. When I was there, I was paying over 50% in my taxes between federal, state, and corporate. Just saying that it's when this guy's saying about even raising taxes, which we know he's doing for the $200,000 earners, it's the reason why we're pissed is not because we just hate the idea of taxes. It's because the more that you take, the less we see being done.
Well, right.
Exactly.
Yeah, because to your point, Elijah, it's not just that, okay, it's 3% and then they're going to gradually raise it. It's that then the contract will go to, so-and-so's best friend who has an in, and they're going to charge way too much because they know that the taxpayers are paying for it. And if you just went private and got government and big bureaucratic business out of it, I'm sure you'd be able to get all of this at a much lower cost. But you don't want to do that because you're playing with someone else's money.
Yeah, but inherently, I think that's the problem with the tax system in the U.S., right? Yeah. Especially in the lower income bracket. Let's talk schooling, for instance. You can't see where your money's going, and that's the problem. I mean, just send it to us, and then you hear it's cash on a plane flying to a foreign country, or we're helping another country to look down in the shower and figure out what their gender is. So we got to pay them to look down.
The Pakistanis really confused in the shower.
Exactly. So that's the problem, though, is when you pay your taxes, like California. Californians are the people in this country that should be the most irate about. Listen, wait a second. We're bankrupt. That state is the most bankrupt state, and they pay the highest taxes. Think for a second. You don't think there's little corruption, little much, maybe at the top? So that's, and to your point, if you could trace it, and you could actually see, hey, the potholes are being filled. Hey, and the lane is being, schools are being upgraded, whatever, then one thing. But interesting to me, though, is he said another thing. Look, 200,000, 400,000, I don't care what it is. Oh, it's not going to increase the deficit. There's no way. Right. The left just flat out can't do math. We're not going to increase the deficit, but we're going to let 99% of Americans earn under $400,000 a year, okay? That is the ultra 1%, okay? But it's not going to increase the deficit. No way. We're just going to let Jeff Bezos pay it all? Or who's going to pay all the taxes all of a sudden? And if it is 200,000 and lower still, I mean,
but what stops it from moving?
For families,
but what stops it from moving, though? That's what I want to explain, is that this is the goalpost and the problem with taxes to where it becomes state-enforced robbery. I mean, that already is what taxes are. But when it comes to a point where it's that's why they say, well, why do you defend the rich? Why are you defending the rich? I don't like people who use dishonest means to make money, but I don't believe in punishing people who use honest means to earn a living. They employ a lot of people. But then at the same time, it's well, why are you defending not overtaxing rich people? I'm like, no. I'm defending not overtaxing people.
Yeah, right.
Just realizing that we are not an empty, a wallet that never ends for somebody to put their hands in and take money out of. Because you go, well, it was the billionaires, then it was the millionaires, then it's the above 400,000, then it's above the 200,000, and it will creep in because the government has no self-control.
Because there's no way not to increase the deficit. The way they spend, are you kidding me? Even if they say it's $200,000 a family, I mean, there's no.
Pelosi's new pens for the impeachment. Those are custom pens. I mean, I know it sounds stupid, but
they're spending like crazy. They're sending money to foreign countries who, aren't our allies, number one, and they're basically funding an immigration, debacle, right? Sending money to countries south of the border, not saying, hey, take care of your own. No, basically we're going to fund you to bring them over here, and it taxes the system, whether it's money tax or whether it's a tax on healthcare, on the State of the Nation by having people come in. They spend like crazy. So it's just funny to me that he goes, we won't increase the deficit. Okay.
So I think that, like, really when you're trying to look at what the root of the problem is here and why the American people are so apt to just jump on board with, oh, well, yeah, no, the rich need to pay their fair share and that's how all this is going to work. I think that the average American person just does not understand how taxes work, period, because they're getting it deducted from their paychecks. They don't see how much is deducted. They just kind of are like, oh, yeah, there's a lot of writing here. Okay, here's my take-home money. And they don't get it, I think. So what is the answer? Because I'm all in favor of just doing away with all of that. Don't do any deductions. Every single American pay quarterly taxes. Write that check. You have to write that check. You have to add it up. You know how much you have to write every quarter. You write that check to the IRS and you send it in the mail, just like I do, by the way. And I got to tell you, it freaking stings a lot.
Yes.
And I feel like if every American did that and went, oh, crap, that's actually how much I'm paying. I'm making, $50,000, $75,000, and I'm paying this much money. Okay, yeah, maybe we do.
All Americans should have to pay taxes.
Yes.
I don't think there should be an exemption. Even it should be percentage equivalent to your income because it hurts the same. And I think that's why people vote on raising the taxes because too many people don't pay them. And so it's like, well, what does it do for me? I mean, I'm still going to get the same handouts. I'm going to get the same government programs, the same access to school.
Exactly.
And so they don't have that concept in their head of saying, this is money the government is wasting that people could be investing into our local economy and could be buying things. Like if I didn't pay taxes, I could own a really nice house, then I could pay people to remodel it and this and that. People don't realize those are jobs for carpenters and people who do tile, and that's also for the furniture companies. And you can invest it, but the government takes so much money away that you actually get really limited in your ability to invest that money back into the land, even in stocks or crypto or whatever you're using. You can't, that money's, it's going to Pakistan so that Muslims can
look, it's no different. It's no different than a company running the company poorly and punishing the employees for it, right? Yeah. This is what it is. The country is a company, which is why we had a businessman run it well. But I'm for a flat tax. A flat tax, pick a percentage. Biblically 10%, 15%, pick it, okay? Maybe 10 to 15%. But I don't care if you're homeless. If you earned $2, you're going to pay 20 cents. Right. Every American pays a flat tax, a balanced system, because you can't keep taxing the individuals who work their tails off. This overnight success story and someone was just dealt the right cards and whatever. No, people who are successful work their tails off. And all of a sudden you go, okay, 3/4 of society don't have to pay taxes, and you boys who did well, or girls who did well, you got to cover them, all right? No, I'm with you. When it starts hurting, when everybody starts paying, you're going to see culture change quite a bit. That whole entitlement mentality is going to go because it's going to sting.
Yeah, I mean, well, and I think
you got skin in the game.
Right. It's just it's very similar to healthcare, and I know a lot of people, including Rand Paul, have put forward proposals that are like, hey, we should do health savings accounts, like do away with all of these, the way that it's set up now, and let's do health savings accounts, and then you can become the consumer and you can shop around, and you have this amount of money that you have put aside, and then you can decide if Walgreens or Walmart or Target or wherever has a drug that is the lowest cost, and once you start paying and it's your dollar that is affected, I just feel like all of a sudden Americans start paying attention.
Isn't that how you would raise your children? You give them a budget and say, hey, balance the budget.
You know what? You say that, but I think that is something that has been lost with a lot of American families.
Are you kidding? It's completely lost.
They don't teach their children
I spoke to my 6-year-old 2 days ago and I said, Arwen, our next vacation, not this year, but next year, you're going to plan, you're going to be 7. Said, I'm going to give you a budget. You're going to plan the family vacation. Really, me? And I go, yeah. But you're going to have so much money and you're going to plan this whole thing. And then what's going to happen is she's going to quickly spend it. I go, well, we can't eat. The next 3 days we can't eat. Why, Dad? Because we needed to budget. Where's that art of teaching? How many players do you see in the NFL that can't balance a checkbook? Sign a $10 million signing bonus. No idea. It's a complete lost art.
Yeah.
I mean, and so therefore, entitlement, well, somebody will pay.
And the credit cards, I just want to point that out. That's what I was laughing when I saw a commercial recently for giving your kid a credit card. And I'm going, talk about not teaching people the right things. It's like, here's an endless card with like a limit for a child. What happened? You get $10 for the week. I didn't get any allowance, but I mean, that did teach people something.
Yeah. I mowed lawns. I made the money. I mean, I had to. I painted houses for crying out loud. I mean,
I scooped ice cream, man.
Right? And
I
then,
did.
And then you have that dollar and you protect it.
Yeah.
I flip
You're like,
laptops.
nobody's taking this dollar.
Yeah.
What, you flip burgers?
No, I flip laptops. I would just buy broken laptops and
Really?
things, replace parts, and sell
makes sense.
high quality pictures.
This overachiever
That
over
makes
here.
sense.
Oh,
All
I
the
just
intellect of
made
programmer.
laptops work again. Okay, overachiever.
Go to a commercial. Done with this
We've
guy.
got,
Get the hell out of here.
We've got more to come, including the White House preparing to confront states on what they call, I like to just say what they call, because they call them anti-trans bills, but that's really not what they are. But first, we want to thank our sponsor, Candid. If you are unhappy with your smile, do what I did. Go to Candid. They have the clear, comfortable aligners that just fit right in your mouth. They are practically invisible, and they will straighten your teeth very quickly, very easily. And I'm saying like maybe half the cost of braces. Braces are way more expensive, and with Candid, you can do it all from home. So they ship you everything, you do the impressions, you send them back, and they send you your kit with everything you need step by step by step, and you just wear those aligners 2 weeks, trade them out, get the next one, and it works. So maybe you are like I am, and I had braces, a lot of braces as a kid, and then I stopped wearing my retainer when I was done with it, and my teeth shifted as an adult, and I was like, how in the world did I do that for all those years and I have crooked teeth again? You don't have to do that, all right? Go to Candid, get those teeth straightened. You can go to candidco.com/Y. Use promo code Y to get $75 off. It is candidco.com/Y, promo code Y. Right, the Biden administration is going to confront the rash of anti-LGBT and specifically anti-trans bills proliferating in state legislatures. This is an exclusive according to the Daily Beast. So Human Rights Campaign says that the White House is going to confront this. The DOJ is preparing to challenge in the courts the legality of the bills that have been introduced and some passed in a number of states. Now, I want you to pay attention very carefully to how they frame this, because I think that the language that they use is so important. Outlawing transgender youth's access to health care and sports.
Yep.
So that's apparently what these states are doing.
Stop
when they
twisting
say,
your kids.
Right,
It's
right. But they're outlawing transgender youth's access to health care.
It's the wording.
No one's doing that.
It's the wording.
No, not at all.
It's like when they talked about the South Lake win against critical race theory of how
NBC News.
how a mostly white city fought against anti-racist curriculum, and you're going, oh my. ASS, like, I caught myself here, but you go, this is so.
I think it still counts if you spell it out.
No, man, I tried. At least God
It's
knew
fine.
my heart
It's
was
fine.
right, but the censors didn't. But it's like, the way they word it is to make anybody who disagrees with them like somebody who's against human rights and against progress. We're not against progress. We're against your progressive propaganda, which is not pushing us forward. It's leading to the exploitation of children and the degradation of American society by teaching kids not only to hate their country, but to deny their own gender and to think that that's normal. And it will never be normal. And even if it's hateful for me to say that on the show, it isn't. And it's one thing different for adults to choose to do things with their body, even if I would advise against it. But when you're talking about children who are unimpressionable, I just read a story today where a 14-year-old was being charged as a pedophile for having sex with his 12-year-old girlfriend in Houston. Because they were saying, well, even though they're so close in age, that the girl is 12, and when you're 12, you're so impressionable, we can't give a 12-year-old, even if they're within the same 3 years, the right to have sex. Oh, so this 12-year-old is too impressionable to have sex with her 14-year-old boyfriend, but to, get irreversible hormone therapy and to move towards pre-op mastectomy and to use this, that's normal. It's like it's just you can't even make a logical argument for that.
Yeah, no, and look, the 12-year-old is a victim, 100%, 17 under. You can't draw that line. It doesn't matter where, what, how. This is the world I live in every single day. We fight this fight every day. But the irony here is every single bill you're talking about, whether it's State Bill 145, Gavin Newsom, whether it's 2218, Gavin Newsom and Inslee, all these bills that bring in these progressive sexualization of children, they all come in under Transgender Equity Fund, transgender healthcare. So when it's convenient for them, all of a sudden, there's no problem with healthcare. We'll just slip in this curriculum, and then if you dare say, well, hold on one second. You're lying to the people. This is not about transgender healthcare at all. This is about indoctrination to the comprehensive sex ed curriculum or whatever it is, or the sterilization of America's children through puberty blockers right at age 3 in California. Then it's convenient. And now if you dare to stand up and say, hey, hold on one second. We're not against, you have your rights. Okay, it's in the Constitution. It's there. The stuff you say you fight for, it's already there. You are indoctrinating other people. If you want to go be a monkey and go behave like a monkey, do it. But when you start legislating that all the kids in your city, because of you now, need to think they're a monkey, or need to think that, hey, maybe I'm not a boy, not a girl, allow these things to happen. Or the worst thing that's happening in our country is take what's called sexual agency away from the parent. This is California now. So when a 3-year-old says, hey, maybe I am a boy, because her auntie or someone says, hey, are you sure? Are you sure, like that mother? The parents lose sexual agency, which means CPS and Planned Parenthood now says, parent, you stand aside. Little Susie, who's 3, can now get Lupron, which is a prostate cancer drug to sterilize her indefinitely, so we make sure that she can cross over easier when she's 18. All this stuff happens under healthcare. So when they start talking transgender and healthcare, your antenna should go way up. They abuse that system. Every bill on every floor across this country where they brought these laws into sexualized children come in under the healthcare, something healthcare related. It's nonsense.
It's evil. I mean,
Absolute.
It's just downright evil. You see how they treated the Georgia law to secure and make sure that the elections were fair and secure. And from them, it's a voter suppression bill, the voter suppression bill.
Exactly.
I mean, everything they're doing, they're just controlling the language and they're pushing the narrative that way. And it's just so frustrating to see. Okay, so but before we go, I do want to bring up, there's a picture just going all over.
It's so weird.
Going all over
weird.
the internet. For those of you conspiracy theorists, you're going to love this one. So this is, of course, the Bidens with the Carters. But if you'll notice, the Bidens are either giants. Or the Carters have been miniature people this entire time, and we just never knew it.
It's the distortion on the lens.
It appears to be that the Carters are mini-sized because their chairs are tiny. Everything around them is tiny except for the Bidens, who genuinely look like giants next to them. So Elijah, you're the conspiracy theorist that I thought would just go off on this.
I've taken pictures like this. And if you were to tell me this was like, if you were to tell me this was like 14 millimeters or 12 millimeter with a slight rounded lens, because you're trying to get a good aperture, so you're trying to get a lot of light in, the distortion on the ends, it could make them look larger. Also considering the fact that they might be a little more in front of them than you think with the distortion, because you already see that the one side of his face, his head's already starting to go in smaller. But also, there's never something with this administration that doesn't look like he's like a hologram or something. It's like if you have to prove, like when fact checkers came out and had to tell the American people, fact check false, Joe Biden is not a hologram, is not the fact that they think America's that dumb, but the fact that we're at a point in our country where you have to reassure the people the president's not a hologram shows you just how popular this president really is.
Hey, there's a lot going around at the moment, and this is fact where Putin has doubles, and they talk about doubles, and this is well reported around the world, they're going, hey, is this the real Biden? Is this Biden number 4, Biden number 5? Look, that picture by itself is just disturbing. Okay, it's disturbing.
I love Jaco's explanation.
It's absolutely disturbing. I mean, you should look at that and go,
I love it.
Holy Hannah, what's going on?
I love it.
Joe, maybe they want to make him look larger than life. Biden is really a giant in this nation. He's really not a midget.
I would like to also say, I know that there were some people who were like, but if you look at the leaf, the top leaf on her dress, it's coming out from that's the way that the dress is. If you go and look, it's got like this artificial leaf that for the 3D effect, I guess, is sticking out. And by the way, totally love the fact that Joe Biden is wearing a mask outside in conditions where he doesn't have to. He's around people who are approximately 250 years old and would be in the vulnerable category for this virus. Does not wear a mask at all.
No, but he's just following the playbook, remember?
Which again, I don't mind, but like, make up your mind. If you're not gonna wear a mask there, don't wear a damn mask outside.
It looks like a set.
It does
look
like a set.
Are you kidding me? It is a set. But he's just following.
Thank you. That's the Elijah I was waiting for.
That's right. He's following the playbook because he's just doing exactly what Cuomo did. Just send COVID into the old age home. right? Send it into the, kill the people. So he goes, mask outside, but when I go see the Carters, mask off.
It's just bizarre.
I mean,
everything.
It's because they know what's really going on. They know they're
Listen,
fine
I hear
together.
the
They know they're
circus.
fine.
Is it just me, or do you hear the circus music, Boswell and Wilkie, and the ringleader steps in every day? It's top hat. Yeah, it's just a ringleader. It's a circus show, man. It's an absolute
Pepe
circus
the Frog
show.
comes out walking on like a little like colored ball, and you just go, and you just like, I believe it. I'm getting trolled.
Next thing you see, it's the president with elephants
It
and
is.
tutus. That's what you're going to see next. It's a complete circus show. The world must be looking at us and go, what a joke.
Yes.
It's a giant episode of Punk. That's what it feels like. Like Ashton Kutcher, someone's gonna come out and be like, just kidding, this was a prank. And I'm waiting. Yeah, like,
got you.
Oh, Lord, I wish. All right, we've got more to come. First, we want to thank our sponsor, Freedom Project Academy. So, we're talking about what your kids are being taught in public school. Yaku was talking about the curriculum that they're doing. He's very, very involved in that. There's no difference between boys and girls. You're white, so you're racist. Also, math is racist. And supporting Black Lives Matter and social justice. I just wish that when I was back in school, I could just say that math was racist, because I did not do great at math. I was not able to use that as an excuse, and I think I'm owed some reparations, is all I'm saying. So reading and writing, you don't need to worry about that, but just the leftist organizations and agendas. And then, of course, teachers' unions just got tens of billions in COVID cash to push all of this in your public school classrooms. I know you don't want this for your kids, okay? If you wanted it for your kids, you would not be watching this program, but you're watching this program, so you need to consider Freedom Project Academy, all right? FPA has perfected live online learning for over a decade. They are built on Judeo-Christian values. They have a classical curriculum, and they are dedicated to providing mastery of subject matter, not leftist propaganda. You got to go to freedomforschool.com. Request your free information packet today. It is freedomforschool.com. School is going to be here. Fall is going to be here before you know it. Don't miss out. Go to freedomforschool.com. All right, a juror who served on the trial of police officer Derek Chauvin is he's defending his decision to attend a Black Lives Matter rally in Washington, D.C. back in August. Now, this is kind of goes contradictory to his statements during the juror selection process. He said that the demonstration had nothing to do with George Floyd. So the Black Lives Matter demonstration that they had in D.C. that, was like in the name of George Floyd, apparently had nothing to do with George Floyd, which is kind of hard to fit together here. But there's a picture. Who was it that found this picture? Was it Jack Posobiec?
No, it was not. That's a post-millennial article that he's getting it from. So,
okay.
It looks like it was.
It must have been post. Yeah. It must have been post-millennial. But
they're good.
They are very good. Mm-hmm. This was posted on his Facebook page. If you're watching this podcast, get your knee off our necks, BLM.
This has been out for some time, though.
Yes, so that's why I'm wondering where everyone else was with this.
Have you seen all the jurors? I've seen interviews with a lot of jurors. I just watched one even right after where one of the females says that her home was in Brooklyn Center during the riots, and the riots were constantly on her mind that just happened with the Dante Wright, and that she definitely had some fear of if she did the wrong verdict that people would come to her house. And you go, despite what you think, it's like this is clearly not an impartial jury. This was already predetermined. And this guy saying, oh yeah, well, I was just about black justice. And it's like, bro, this is what we're supposed to accept is not reality. It's like we know what this whole BLM movement started and gained momentum.
Right.
But the media won't care about this because they don't care about impartiality, about justice. They got the verdict they wanted. The mob got their way. And that's, again, about the flaunting. It's like now they're like, yes,
but Elijah, it's not even enough for them. The verdict's not enough for them because it was never about George Floyd. It's about them. But it's a further breakdown in the justice system because if you know how it works, Chauvin's lawyers get to cross-examine the jurors and they could go, strike it down. So I'm wondering what work was done.
Why didn't they do that?
How did they go, well, listen, you lived in that riot-torn place, you've made these statements, you've posted these kind of things, you can't be a juror.
Yeah, I don't know how much time or access they have to people's social media, because all I can say is that this particular
because that would
juror,
not happen. It would be struck down. I mean, you have that as a defense. You interview the jurors and you can strike them down from being on the jury.
So this particular juror, they asked a couple different questions related to these demonstrations. Did you or someone close to you participate in any of the demonstrations or marches against police brutality that took place in Minneapolis after George Floyd's death? And then other than what you have already described above, if they answered to that question, have you or anyone close to you participated in protests about police use of force or police brutality? He answered no to both of them. And he's like, well, that demonstration that I attended with the knee on the neck shirt was like, it was for Martin Luther King. It wasn't for... See, there's Martin Luther King on his shirt.
Did you listen to his interview too?
No.
That he gave? He was like, which is, okay, I'm going to say something, and I don't want people to misconstrue it, and it's going to be very unpopular, but it also makes me agree with the left about reforming the justice system. They talk about the justice system being racist, and that actually is kind of true, because originally when they talked about a jury of the peers, that was probably majority white men on the jury. So they would say that, a lot of black men were not allowed to serve black people at a certain point. And so they would look at it and say, this is why it's racist, because when a white man's getting judged by a bunch of white men, they're going to be more understanding culturally, racially, everything. But if a black man's being judged by a bunch of white men, then there's going to be that division. And people saw that division, that problem of not understanding the culture. And what's interesting is we become more diverse. We've never looked at that phrase, a jury of your peers, to understand what that means, especially with not just with race, but with age discrepancy, with gender. I mean, the way people think. And I put this into perspective because when I looked at the interviews with a white woman and a black man, not just on race, but on gender, and also I looked up some stuff about their own personal life. It was interesting how the woman talked about her things were about the fear of being attacked physically, which is something a woman would think. And then the black man, he said, I looked at this and thought that could have been me. I'm a big black guy. And there was that tribal identity that's very common in the African-American communities, the feeling apart. There's studies that show that being black is very important to the black community versus being white. She said nothing about race, nothing about connection. It was fear. His was about personal connection. And so these things have to be taken into account as our culture's changing, as we're becoming more diverse. What does that mean to be judged by a jury of your peers? And how do you make that fair so that the jury is still impartial? And I feel like the current system doesn't take enough into account. Like you even said, maybe we aren't allowed, maybe there has to be more review of social media. There has to be a more understanding. Because at this point, I can see that in high profile cases, just the idea of peers, meaning some random people from the neighborhood, is not going to work.
Yeah.
No, it's well said. And this leaves the question, and not about the verdict, but the question of the process is what I'm questioning here. How did that guy end up on the jury? Just because he's supposedly a peer? Well, okay, then if you are a peer and you feel like you can speak into it, what has your actions been leading up to the case? Can you be, impartial? That's what the process should be for a jury. It's to put people on the stand that want the best outcome, the right outcome, according to the law, emotionality out of it, history out of it. So if that woman said, and I was the lawyer, and I would determine that she really was afraid for her life, I would say, not qualified to be on the jury here. Why? Because she is emotionally attached to the case.
So, I mean, at bare minimum, though, now that the case is over with everything that's happened, and even the judge remarking that, lawmakers getting involved in this certainly is setting up grounds for an appeal. Would you say that?
No, there was an appeal before that day. You went live here.
I should say a successful appeal.
They actually made the case for the appeal.
Yeah, if the justice system
the left made the case
just
for the appeal by the politicians weighing in, and even the president of the United States that morning said, well, the right outcome. Not the fair outcome, not, hey, we're going to leave it in the hands of the Justice Department. We're going to trust our system, and let's see tomorrow. I'll comment tomorrow. We had that on the show. We talked about it. But no, the morning of, they made the case for the appeal. The left did. So, if there's an appeal, I wouldn't be surprised.
There's worse jurors, though. Like, I think when I found all the jurors early on, and a lot of people I obviously wouldn't publish this stuff.
We have true journalists here at BlazeTV.
I wouldn't publish this stuff, but one of the jurors, which I was tracking their social media activity, not creepily, these are public profiles, to try to understand some of the influences that were going on. I remember right after they convened, the juror was like, oh, I hope I made the right decision, reminding you, I cannot comment too much how this person looks, but they do not look mentally well. And by some of the things that they're into, they're clearly very progressive and very odd, and definitely by proxy attached to the BLM movement. And they're Caucasian too, by the way, so this isn't like the idea. I said, race doesn't matter. That's why the peers thing is important, because people want to make it a racial thing. I'm saying this goes much deeper. I'm going, oh God, if this literally, capital G, God, if my life and the trustability of the witness of what I did was in the hands of this, at least I think identifies as a girl, I know I'll be in prison for whatever, if it was some sort of a high-profile social issue, just being a white man, because this person clearly does not have a good foundation. Looking how they type, they don't know anything, and I can't believe that that's who's in charge of deciding justice. I'm going, my God, that's when Piers was written. We actually maybe had some self-respect as a people, but now with the degradation of our culture, these amoral people who have no understanding, take gender, race, everything out of it. These amoral people with no understanding of what's right and wrong in their own personal lives are here to decide my moral fate.
Yeah, but
God help us.
But I would argue it's always been there. Maybe not to this level, but that's why the system allows both sides, the defense, and the prosecution side of the legal teams, to interview the jurors and collectively end up with a impartial body of people, which in this case I question whether that process, unless the defense for Chauvin said, listen, I'm not going to rock the boat, this is too controversial, I don't know, but something wasn't right, because under normal circumstances you wouldn't end with that jury. That would not be the jury. No way, because the system is set up from as old as time to weed out the outliers and the whack jobs and the ones with an axe to grind, et cetera, et cetera. Because people use that to get out. I mean, you do jury duty. People will go, well, anybody ever said anything against a obese person because we're prosecuting? I say it all the time. Well, you're disqualified. You can't be in the jury. People abuse that too. So I don't know how this jury ended up being this jury.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. You know what? Let's go ahead and take a break, and then we've got Andrew Cuomo coming up next.
Yay. It's not a show if it's not a Cuomo show.
Andrew Cuomo, who we've covered on the show all of his scandal about literally killing, well, not with his hands, but indirectly his policies killing people in nursing homes.
Hey, guns indirectly kill people. It's like the bullet's the one that kills them, not literally with the person's hand. So that's basically what he did. He shot the bullet, but the bullet's the one that killed the people.
There you go. That's what it is. That must be why he's getting out of this and still not resigning. Also, the fact that he's a Democrat, I know, helps. But he had the audacity to say this at a press conference on vaccines yesterday. Watch.
Who are the groups we're targeting on the vaccination? Youthful and the doubtful. And there is an attitude that they'll be fine. Why should they take the vaccine? Maybe you will get a long haul syndrome that we're not really sure what it is yet, but a lingering consequence of COVID. Or maybe you go home and kiss your grandmother and wind up killing your grandmother.
So Andrew Cuomo, of all people, telling you if you refuse the vaccine, you could kill your grandmother, which incidentally, he already did kill your grandmother. So there's that.
Wow.
There's that. Tone deaf, I'm not sure quite even covers it, by the way.
I'm trying to just go, what is going on in that brain? It's got to cease.
Well, you're assuming that he has a brain.
Maybe he's covering for himself, going, yeah, you see, other people are going to kill old people too. It wasn't just him. What else do we need to rack up against this guy to get him out of office? Whether it's the abuse of women or killing old people. I'm stunned by that.
It is amazing, isn't it?
You got to make him a Republican. So that's the only thing you're missing. He's just got the wrong letter on the ticket.
He's got women. He's abused. He's killed. He's cheated, lied, stolen. He's let pedophiles out on the street of his city. He's abolished bail. What else do you need to do in New York?
All of that is fine, but at least we got Donald Trump out of office because he tweeted mean things.
He's a mob leader, but I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt and just say, I actually don't expect much from New York in terms of politics. It's like
lower the expectations.
It's like asking people, can you believe that the mayor of Chicago is corrupt? And you're like, I'm pretty sure you have to be corrupt to play.
To be the mayor.
To play politics in Chicago. I know we still have ethics in some counties and some states, but man, we gotta confront the fact, like in California, in New York, in Illinois, in these places, there is not a way I believe, for a fair, true, and honest person to really get ahead and to get into that position. So don't be shocked when you find out those people are exactly who you would assume they would be.
Yeah. Speaking of the vaccine, by the way, the FDA is apparently set to authorize the COVID-19 vaccine. I'm going to try my best to deliver this calmly. for children and teenagers ages 12 to 15 years old next week. So this is, of course, this is what gets me, Elijah, still for emergency use. So it has not been approved. Obviously, they have not studied it well enough to say, it's totally safe. We know the long-term repercussions. We know all of the possibilities, and it's totally 100% safe. They're approving it for emergency use. I'm sorry, they're authorizing it for emergency use for 12 to 15-year-olds.
What's the emergency, Jaco? Because I know you care a lot about children not being abused and not doing things that are there.
This is child abuse.
Yeah, what is the science?
No, there is no science. They can't prove that the vaccine's for the adult. There's no proof on anything on these vaccines.
Well,
they don't go through any authentication or verification or any trial.
And can you just really quickly, and if anyone believes that that's not true, we don't have any long-term studies.
Zero.
I'd like to just point that out.
Zero.
Like you can't argue that point. There are no long-term studies.
Can I give a little caveat to that, though?
Please.
Is that the mRNA technology has been being developed for, at least from my understanding from papers I've read, at least a decade. Some would even say preliminary findings more. But it's still safe to say that even if something's been if it's been in development, that doesn't mean that the wide-range trials have been there. That's even a car, it appears, goes through more and longer testing before it's allowed onto the road.
Absolutely.
And it's like, this is where I have a problem with people who say someone like me is the problem. Because in fact, I was pushing for vaccinations before this, and I go, the only time that I've ever pushed for vaccinations is some certain vaccinations that are well studied, that have been proven over time. Some vaccinations, like the HPV vaccination, I would tell people, I don't think you should get it, but I'm not your doctor, figure this out. I'd say just be less sexually active, like be more smart with your sex life. But when you go ahead on this and you look at actual vaccinations, I have to say, I have autoimmune disorders. I've taken immunology. There's allowed to be debates on this. People wonder, like the theory of the epidemic of absence, like are vaccinations and hygiene what are causing the development of autoimmune disorders? There's actual discussion at a collegiate level of this.
100%.
And then I get out into the real world. And they're going, oh yeah, but this vaccine, there's no discussion on it. I'm going, I just came out of graduate level immunology courses where we actually have discussion about the efficacy, the need, and the effectiveness of vaccines. But you're telling me, because Bill Gates says that it's fully safe, a computer software engineer, that I'm no longer in the real world allowed to question this? I damn for sure know there's something I should be questioning if they're trying to silence me.
Look, those immunology studies on those vaccines you're talking about are on vaccines that's been around for a long time, and people have had them over a period of time. When we look at MMR and all these different vaccines, and I just want Americans to do your homework. Go look at the vaccines in Africa, where there's other real issues, and you look at vaccines in America, and it pales in comparison. The amount of vaccines today that an American child has to go through by their 17th birthday, it's 200% higher than in Africa that has West Nile, Ebola, other real issues. And go look at Europe. We are a vaccine-crazy nation, and I'm just telling you, unless you can prove what's going to happen, and now you're going to give it to children, the effects will be immeasurable. I'm telling you.
All right, we got to take a break. Back in a minute.
Yeah, hey kids, you can't have sex with each other in jail.
All right, don't forget to go wherever you find your audio podcasts. Look up The News and Why It Matters. Subscribe, rate, and review. Give us 5 stars. We deserve no less than 5 stars, obviously. And also, it will help more people to find the podcast. And then, hey, you may see your review read live on air if you say something nice about some of us. So today we have one from To L and Back. That's cute. I love it. This is all for you, Sarah. That's so nice. I listen to your news podcast every day. Found you on Candace Owens' show. That's right. I think I forgot to tell the audience that I was on Candace Owens' show a while ago. So you should definitely go look that up if you haven't.
Check it out.
You rocked it. Girl crush, maybe, but don't worry. I'm married. Hey, girl. Love your rotating cast of personalities, too. Jaco and Eric, Elijah Schaefer, Pat and Stu are fine, whatever, but I think it's about time you invite the real expert on current events, Jeff Fisher. Pretty please. I think his invitation got lost in the mail. I don't know what happened. I'll have to have him on really soon then, because he definitely is the real expert. So thank you so much. 2L and Back, and a fan of you guys as well.
I think it's my last name too.
Yeah, everyone else is first name, and Elijah Schaefer. You're very formal like that.
Yeah,
so.
it was formal for you.